Hello, you're watching tulipswift. Today I'm doing April wrap-up, so I'm going to go through the 3 lovely YA books that I read this month, and they were all really good, and one of them was for BookCon, and I'm trying to read like only books for BookCon, because it's in like less than 2 weeks. All 3 of these books were so good. The first book I finished is Afterworlds by Scott Westerfeld. I was working on this a lot in March, but I didn't finish it until early April. It's pretty big. It is not like anything I've ever read. It was like entertaining if you're very like in with the young adult, not just genre, but kind of like community. It's about this girl named Darcy. She's 17, she's Indian, and she wants to publish her book about a girl named Lizzie. And like I was like, first I was like, Darcy and Lizzie, that's Pride and Prejudice. But they actually point that out, which I'm so grateful for. The chapters with these black lines, kind of like a movie, like the frame, these are Darcy's book, which is about Lizzie and the supernatural world. Kind of like the Afterworlds are kind of like between like life and death, and she can kind of cross over. So her story is really interesting. She moves to New York and she's so young, and she's like getting her book published, and she meets someone so nice. There's so many characters that this isn't really a spoiler, but this book goes LGBT, and I was like, yay! It started off really well because Lizzie's story was like very scary, and I love that. I love that so much. So I really like that. But then Darcy's story got like so predictable, like the YA over and over again. I just felt so like, I'm like, oh, is it really like this? And like just the authors and the publishing and blah. I'm like, I'm reading YA. I don't want to learn about writing YA. Following this, I was listening to Will Grayson by David Levithan and John Green. Okay, so this is the last book I got to listen to in my car before the CD player broke. So I have to say, okay, for some background, about 3 years ago I read 20 pages of this book and put it down. The character Tiny, it was like these giant like quirky John Green characters like times 10, and I was like, I can't do this. But the audiobook is the best audiobook I've ever heard. They have an actor for each Will Grayson. If you're not familiar with the story, it's about 2 Will Graysons that kind of cross paths. So they have a different actor for each one. They were both phenomenal, and both Will Graysons were so great, and this book went everywhere, and it was so deep and hilarious. And I love the audiobook because they sing all the show tunes. It doesn't seem like cheesy when someone's singing out loud, and like the actor's like really good and on point and stuff. But like when I was reading it, I like couldn't, I was like, what? I was like, what? But when it's spoken, like I kind of, it was easier for me to go along with the situation. So proud of this book. I'm so proud that I finally read it, and it was so real. Single tear. Oh my god, you'll never guess the 3rd book I read in April! Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken! Okay, so this one I started in January, as we all know. By April I had read maybe 30 pages. I finally picked up Never Fade, and I read it so fast. Not as fast as the 3rd one, which we will talk about next month and in my review. I actually filmed a review for Never Fade, so I'm positive that you will get it. This is the 2nd book of the Darkest Mind series by Alexandra Bracken. We're thrown out of the situation that we saw ourselves in the 1st book. So we're surrounded with a lot of new characters that we're surrounded with. We really dive into the Children's League and what are they for? What can they do? Ruby really starts to take control in this book. Like, I'm not spoiling you, I swear. Yeah, there's some great new characters. This book had so many plot twists. Like, there wasn't like one major one. There were like a lot of them like over and over again. And that's so exciting. This book was everything. It was kind of like the beginning like did not pick up for a while, which was really weird because her books are never like that. But it's kind of like after how you ended in the 1st book. Yeah, like the beginning does not pick up for a while. But really, it was so good, and the series is really great. It's dark and sad. And those can be bad things, but those can also be very moving things and very engaging qualities of a book. And I especially, it was perfect for me, and I really love this series. Those are the 3 books I read this month. This month I read all TBR books, and we're knocking off that list. My TBR is almost equal to the books I've read. So we're getting close, like 80 books away, and then we'll get there. I'm so happy you watched this. I love sharing what I read with you. I hope to see you next time. Bye, love you so much.